It wasn't really that long ago that Roseanne Arnold commuted from her Denver home to earn laughter and growing fame with her housewife's laments. Her stand-up act as America's Every Woman has snowballed into a multi-million-dollar growth industry. Her ABC program's often #1. She's easily one of our most recognizable faces, and she is as controversial as she is funny. Roseanne Arnold has battled network executives, television critics, and a double-edged sword of fame itself. We're very pleased to have her join us now. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Let me just, for once for me, I met someone today who said to me that after the show, after Tom's show premiered, that he got a note from you saying, gee, you got it right. It was a complimentary, it was a piece that liked the show.
Oh, in the newspaper?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So you wrote this letter and you said to this guy, congratulations, you got it. This is what we were trying to do on the show. On the other hand, there were those people, and I want to deal with the news first, who got letters and faxes that they certainly seemed to be insulting to them. My question is, what were you trying to say to them, and why?
Well, I was trying to say to them the same thing that I have been attempting to say in the press for about 6 or 7 years since I came here, which is that the people who write and review your work are often talking about themselves and not you. And in fact, in their judgmental way, they say more about themselves than they say about you. And, you know, nobody's gotten worse press than me. And so I've been, you know, I always send little faxes or letters to point out things. But when things cross over into a real personal attack, which I felt they had, I felt that, you know, well, I wanted to defend myself and my work, which I'm constantly doing with the press. It's kind of a losing battle sometimes, I think. But and also, just to tell them to stick it, basically.
That you'd had enough, huh?
Yeah, I'm not really, you know, you can't. I'm not there to educate them. I'm not holding public office and, you know, attempting to raise people's consciousness. But, you know, I don't like sexism.
Right.
I mean, obviously I stand for that, I think. And when it's very overt and protected, that really angers me.
Let me stay with the notion of those three because it created such a controversy. One is that the response didn't seem to go to what they had written. It seemed to go that what you thought of them, whether it was their sexual preference or their whatever wimpish quality or whatever it is, it was an ad hominem attack on them rather than saying, here's why your review is wrong, and here's where I disagree, and here's what you missed,
you know why?
and here's the genius that you don't see.
Because I'm not an academic. I mean, maybe I am somewhere in my head.
Yeah, but you're a living, breathing, bright person with opinion.
But maybe I am somewhere in my head. But, well, yeah, but then you're getting into the whole thing of educating people, which I despise that whole thought. And
what, if they don't get it, they don't get it?
If they don't get it, they're never going to get it. But, and nothing I can say, I mean, obviously nothing I can say or do is going to make them get it. Yeah. But the thing that really I was responding to is something I feel is a real covert sexist attitude towards not just myself, but all women, particularly women who have any kind of power and who are in this town. And it's very covert, and it's not ever pointed out, although it would be pointed out definitely were it about a black person or a Jewish person, which I also am, but it seems to be when it's about women that it's just very accepted, and that really angers me, again. And so that's the thing that always triggers me. Yeah. So
what you seem to be saying is that, boy, I mean, it triggered, you thought it was sexist and you thought they didn't get it.
Oh, I thought most everything they write about me is extremely and excruciatingly sexist. Yeah.
But I have seen, I mean, I take a James Walcott piece I saw in the New Yorker magazine. Very complimentary to you and to what you were doing.
Yeah, and I didn't fax him.
See, what you're trying to do, I get it. So if they don't want to fax, you better write something good.
No, I like I said, nobody has handled bad press better than myself.
How can you say that?
Because I have had nothing but since I first came here, and they've never understood anything that I've done, and they always put it down because they don't understand it. Because really, I believe that the press is really the whole repository of the status quo.
Yeah.
And people who go into the press are just like total middle-class status quo people that are like, okay, this is the way it's going to be, and we're going to really protect our ideas here, particularly print journalism.
Yeah, but at the same time, go ahead.
And sexism is status quo. Yeah. And so is racism, and so is anti-Semitism. And, you know, I'm an artist, and so those are the things I'm sensitive to. And no, these people that I faxed, there's very clear reasons why I fax them. I mean, you know, I'm not a maniac that just goes out on a
You pick your targets carefully?
Yes, I pick my targets however I feel that day, very carefully, and you know, but the one guy, he started off this good review by saying just a personal attack on my husband. So my fax to him was really just, I wrote the very same thing that he wrote, but I made it about him.
Yeah. Because you thought he was reviewing your husband's what?
He's reviewing my husband's personality and my marriage to my husband rather than our work.
And therefore you chose to...
Not even my husband's personality. Yeah. Maybe my husband's body weight and our implied sexual relationship.
Suppose somebody steps forward to say...
and another guy said it isn't funny, which I just said to him, well, you know, what do you think's funny? I mean, this guy, he never thinks anything's funny in the whole wide world except for like something like this Mystery Science Theater 3000, which my 14-year-old son watches.
Oh, that was great. Like, I remember that.
It's like, yeah, there's real good comedy. But I said, you know, you don't think anything is funny. Yeah. And, you know, and
but don't
I said, I think you're funny. I think you're a Hollywood stereotype, and this is who I'm going to cast to play you.
Yeah, I know, and this is an LA Times critic. And are you going to do that? Here's the question.
I'm definitely going to do it.
Because we know something about you, know that there's a sensitivity. You wouldn't do this if you weren't a sensitive person. No. We know the things you've disclosed about your childhood and the pain you've gone through. Let's assume that these people, you've caused some pain to them. Let's assume that you've gone beyond.
I have.
I know you do. I want you to feel guilty. Let's go beyond.
No, I won't feel guilty because I never started.
Yeah, but let's say...
I never start
Suppose somebody...
like that.
Go ahead.
And these people, it's not just a one-time thing. Well, these two guys that got the more friendlier faxes, that was just a one-time thing. But this one particular critic at USA Today, it's a constant thing, reviewing all of my work for about 2.5 to 3 years, maybe longer. In every column are words like bimbo, shrew, bitch. I mean,
but is he talking about the character on the stage, or is he talking about
There is no character on the stage, honey. It's all me. Every bit of it is me.
So if they criticize your character, they're criticizing you
they
because
can criticize me. They can say Roseanne isn't funny. They can say whatever they want to say, but I want them to not use terms like that about me or any woman. Yeah. Like if they were criticizing Bill Cosby's work, they wouldn't use an offensive racial term without every black person in the world coming down on them. But it doesn't happen with women. Women take it repeatedly and ignore it, and that also angers me very, very much.
And
because words like, when you use words like bimbo, bitch, shrew, blah, 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 I mean, does everybody know this in the world except the press or what? Those are diminishing and offensive terms about all women. Now, what is so damn hard to understand that?
Nothing. Now, the other thing, though, is that...
So I used equally offensive terms, and I was trying to give the guy an object lesson.
You're trying to say to him that I'm doing to you what you were doing to me, and stop.
Yeah, and so they all went up in arms over there, USA Today. They're like, oh, you use these words and this, that, and the other. I go, but don't take my context away. It isn't as if I, just faxed you and called you these names. I wrote it within the context of these names are equally as offensive as this name.
Yeah, but why attack the guy's sexual preference?
Why attack me as a bitch or a shrew or anything? Why attack women as that? Why diminish any woman's sexuality with words like that? And do it publicly, which I sent a private fax, but he does it publicly.
How did it become public?
In a newspaper that is published every day and millions of people read, and half of whom are women.
This program, obviously, first let's talk about Roseanne, resonates in America. It's clearly there. Critics attacked you at the time, not television critics. When people wrote stories about you, they said, Roseanne has come in and she's fired everybody and she's a megalomaniac.
Well, that's just sexism.
Let me finish.
Again.
Let me finish. She's a megalomaniac and she's changing the staff and writers are out the door and, by God,
I think they were mad because I was a woman that fired men.
And now they're saying it's a better show. It's never been better, right? They are.
Yeah, but they're saying that because they have to say that, because it's true, and it's so obvious to everyone in the world that they have to say it. But now, instead, what they do is they attack my husband. They attack me through the show that I'm producing that stars my husband. All the very same things that they said about me in the beginning of my show, they're still saying about me, but they're saying it in another context of another project. So no, I don't think it's changed or gotten any better. I don't think anybody...
You don't think it's gotten better, though, because you've gone in and run it the way you want to run it now?
Oh, my show has definitely gotten better.
It's a better show because you did what you wanted to do with it.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the press.
Oh,
no.
You, come on, but why blanket the press with a broad brush? I mean, can't you let people criticize without...
I told you, you're not listening.
I am listening.
You're supposed to be a good listener, but you're not listening. I told you, nobody has handled the onslaught of negative publicity and negative press as well as I have. And I just have a boiling point and a breaking point that I've reached after 7 years. But, yes, they can say they don't like me. They can say I'm not funny. They can say anything like that. But do not condemn me for the same thing that you praise men for doing.
Well said. Let me move to the notion of why is it, you think, what is it about the character that it so resonates with America? And what is it that, you want people to experience other than sheer comedy from this program?
Well, I think I like the term slice of life, and I think that at the base of it, the thing that's very important to me is that it has a very positive, pro-human, and also a forgiving and a healing message to it. That's very important to me to put out there in all my work, and I believe that that's why people respond to it, and because these people make mistakes also, I think people appreciate that. They're not a perfect packaged television family. They're more like real families than has probably been on television before. They're not all the way real, or we'd be able to swear, which is like something I really want to push for.
Which is the capacity to have more freedom in terms of what you can say.
Yeah, to say bad words, because you do when you're angry, but the network will never go for that in this decade.
But do you find with the power that you have now that your latitude is wider in terms of what you can do?
My latitude is wider
in terms of language, in terms of it,
show.
because of who you are and the power that you bring and the ratings that you bring, and
Yeah, I feel like it's a razor blade though that you walk, and I feel that I feel a great responsibility to the people, to the fans of the show and the people who watch the show, to try to keep truthful, but not preachy. Yeah. And that's a razor blade, because that could turn on me any minute. I mean, I get letters from like real shows that I think are real sensitive and say something good, and people are so angry they want to sue me, and they're writing to Hillary Clinton about me. And so, but I do read that mail, and I try to hear. I try to listen. I really do try to listen and respond, because I feel like. I don't know why, but I feel that I'm very of my fans. I'm the same. I come from the same cloth that they do.
And they see in that you the identification with them and an understanding of our life and what both the humor and the conflict in our life is.
Yeah, I think so. I guess, but I don't know how they feel. But I know how I feel towards them, and I feel that I owe them that. For the half hour of their lives that they give me every week. I mean, I owe them something that is uplifting and refreshing and positive.
Could you have done this without having done stand-up and all the amount of time you spent on the road and what you learned from that?
No.
What did it give you?
Well, it gave me confidence, mostly, that I knew that it allowed me to, like, stand-up is so cool and comics are so cool. Most of my friends are comics. And my husband is too. But, we're people who have something to say, and we want to say it a certain way. So when we go on stage, we're the director, the producer, and the writer, and the actor. I feel, that's the only place that you can do things like that. And also, I believe that stand-up comedy is the last free speech art form. And so I honed my craft there in front of angry drunks, bikers, lesbians, gay guys, everything. And I learned to speak to a lot of different people, and I think that that's what I think I learned most and has served me in the projects I do is that I can speak a lot of languages into a lot of people.
Where do you want to take the show?
I just want to continue to tell a brave story, and I want to just keep with the integrity of that family. I like where it's going, but I let it loose because I don't try to control it because I never know. Like, Sarah Gilbert came to me this year and said, hey, I'm going to Yale next year. So there went 2 years of what I thought I wanted to do with the show. And the other actress left too. So there's 2 years. So I can't really plan ahead too much. I mostly feel it and think about what would come up. We're going to have some real serious shows this season.
Dealing with what kinds of issues?
Well, one of it, death. And
death in the family?
Yeah, death in the family and confrontation and child abuse. And all the regular things that we do. Things that, I feel like people are out there in the world really doing.
How do you think that you're least understood in terms of who you are and what you believe in and what you want to do? What is it that you think, that not critics or reporters or profile writers or television anchors, but generally, is there one thing about you that you wish people understood more?
I really believe that people do understand me, and I don't feel misunderstood by people at all. I don't really feel so misunderstood by the press, really, because I understand that, to create controversy sells magazines and newspapers and whatever. I don't feel misunderstood. If anything, I wonder if I'm being clear, because that's the only thing that I can control is how clear I'm being. I can't control what everyone in the world is thinking about me, but I want to say something very positive and very pro-human.
And with all the power that this has given you, how has it changed you, in a sense, that the power that comes from the highly rated show and the resources it gives you?
It's changed me so much, and all for the better in a real healing way.
In what way?
Well, because like most of us comics or most of us people in show business, like I heard the Frank Gehry thing about, we all kind of have a chip on our shoulder in a fight with the world. Well, I think that comes from probably abuse and that kind of outsider viewpoint. But for me to take my power and to not abuse it has been a great, great lesson, and at times I have. And but to not abuse it and then become comfortable with it took a lot of upheaval inside of me. Because of course I have that stuff that's like, you don't deserve this, and they're going to find out that you're no good, and and I had to work through all of that and all of that and all of that. So psychologically, it's been very healing for me to do this. I feel that it's something that helped me to, it's just something that's helped me in my life.
You also felt it was inevitable. You knew that you were going to be a star.
Yeah, it's real scary. But
it is scary.
It really scares
that?
me now when I think about that I always knew. I don't know how I always knew, but I remember being 2 years old and knowing, and I was like, when you grow up, you're going to have the Roseanne show. It seems so ridiculous now, but it seems frightening. But I always was rehearsing for the Roseanne show, and I suppose that's how I kind of transcended all the stuff that I lived through. But
you
then
mean
it
back
came
from the abuse and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I didn't have a happy childhood, and I guess that's how you become a dreamer, maybe.
Yeah. Set up as we go to the break, because the relationship, there were people who made, when the relationship between you and Tom first became aware to the public, people said about it, aha, here is Tom less famous, here is Roseanne more famous, this is a marriage of opportunity. Mm-hmm. Clearly they don't say that anymore. They say this is a marriage that works. These are two people that are happy. These are two people that really reinforce each other. Set up the segment with him.
What do you want me to do?
Well, I just want you to tell me what it is about Tom Arnold that you think brings the two of you in harmony.
What it is about him that brings the two of us in harmony? Well, he's a kindred spirit, and he's a very strong man. and he's someone who has cared for me and held me up when I barely could
You wouldn't have made it
sag
without
my way.
him?
No, I wouldn't have lived. I wouldn't have lived, and I don't think he would have lived without me either. We were just able to come together in a really great time and become positive and helpful to each other. When at a point where we both were pretty much dying, and we
Dying
both
of what?
drugs,
Both of you.
drugs, despair, the past, the whole fame thing, and feeling like you don't deserve it, everything. But we were able to, with I say God enabled us to turn that all around, and thank God we lived through it, and we're getting healthier all the time. And that is the thing that I really most want to share with people.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you in this broadcast.